hi class. This will be our last Zoom recording. I told you the 8 weeks was going to go really fast. And so we're coming to the end of the semester, and in this last recording, I want to talk about deadlines. I have a few things to say about the last speech that you'll give once you're done with the persuasive speech, the farewell speech, and then finally, I want to talk about your final assessment. That's the last assignment that you'll do for the course, and that's where you get to negotiate for your final letter grade for the 8-week session. But first, right off the bat, I mentioned this last week, just want to make sure that everyone's clear. The deadline to turn in any work for this class is tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. The deadline for turning your work in for this class is on the 23rd of May. That's a Sunday. We're about a little less than 2 weeks away. But May 23rd, last day to turn in any work for this particular class. And it could be, you know, you're halfway through, you still have a ton of work to get done. Cool, not the best way to do it, probably not going to get the most out of the class, but you can still get your work turned in. But I will not accept any work after the 23rd. I have to turn in my grades on the 27th, so I need a couple days to be able to go through, get all the final assessments done, get everybody's grades set for the class. So make sure you get in all your work no later than the 23rd. Second thing, in fact, let's do this. Also, a few of you have submitted videos, but you didn't embed your videos. Therefore, they haven't been graded and you have an incomplete. So another thing you want to make sure you do before May 23rd is check your work and make sure that if you've submitted any videos but you didn't embed, you get those embedded. In fact, let's go to the modules right now so I can show you exactly where you need to go to be able to figure out how to embed your videos, because there's a couple of you that haven't done that yet. All right, let's go to the modules real quick. Okay, so let's take a look at the module page on your Canvas shell, and we're right here, right at the top, week 1 module. If you still have to go back and embed some of your videos, right here at the bottom of that very first module, how to upload videos from YouTube to Canvas. It will take you about 2 minutes. It's so easy. It's just knowing where to get the data to copy to then paste when you submit it on Canvas. So make sure you check out that video. Also too, want to make sure that everybody's real clear on all of the assignments, because I know that there have been assignments popping up. They'll usually come up on your grades. Oh, this assignment is late or missing. But remember, you're only responsible for doing work that you find on the modules. So as you're kind of going over your grades, making sure you have all of your assignments in, and maybe an assignment pops up and it says that it's missing, before you panic and go, oh crap, what about that video or whatever the assignment is, make sure that you just double check on the modules. If you don't see an assignment anywhere on the modules, then you're not responsible for that assignment. And I really apologize for that. That was just kind of the bind that a lot of us were in as instructors, because we're not only teaching our classes this semester, but we also had to submit a Canvas shell for review by the college to get our classes officially approved. You have to go through quite a lot to get a class that can be taught online. You have to meet a lot of guidelines. And so we were still working on that. So I had assignments that I wanted to use in other shells, but I had housed here, and I couldn't really get rid of those until we did the review process. So that's why there was that confusion. I apologize for that. But you know, if you don't see an assignment and it pops up somewhere on Canvas, but you don't see it on any of the modules here, you're not responsible for that assignment. Also, too, just to kind of point out, some of you haven't been watching the Zoom recordings. And some of you have struggled as a result. You're working on things, not quite sure how to do it, sending me an email asking me, hey, what about this? Or I'm correcting things that you should have known if you were watching the Zoom recordings. So I'm going to talk about final grades in a second, but a lot of information right here that you're responsible for. So you really wanted to make sure you're watching those Zoom recordings. If you haven't, you might want to catch up. All right. So on the modules, if you have any trouble in terms of embedding videos, you know where to go, right in the week 1 module right here at the bottom. And hopefully you're certain as far as, okay, what assignments that you need to get turned in and what assignments that you don't. And again, if you have any questions about that, just send me an email. Okay. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is the farewell speech. And that's your last speech that you will submit. And it's an easy speech. It's just a short 1 to 2 minute speech. And essentially, you're bidding the class farewell. Also, what a lot of students like to do in that farewell speech is maybe go over some of the more important things that they learned this semester or during the 8-week session. So the farewell speech, 1 to 2 minute presentation. You have a lot of freedom as far as the overall content. But the one thing that I really want to emphasize that I'm looking for in that last final speech is that the speech is structured. And so if you really look at this course and what we've learned, a lot of what we have learned has focused on how to organize and structure and prepare and outline for public speaking. And so structure, real important aspect of public speaking. In fact, when you look at public speaking, there are 3 essential elements. The content of the speech, that's the stuff that you talk about, your presentation style or the delivery of the information, and the structure and the organization. And I think the structure and organization are crucial because you don't have to be the best speaker in the world, and you don't even have to have the most interesting or compelling content. But if the audience can at least follow the flow and development of your ideas in a clear and logical manner, you're going to reach a high degree of shared meaning with your audience. So a lot of public speaking is just making sure that the audience can follow along with you as you're covering a particular topic. So structure and organization, real important. And after you're done with this class, when you have a public speaking opportunity, maybe you're going to go talk to your kids' teachers at a PTA meeting, right? Well, you don't go online, oh, where's the outline format for the PTA meetings? No, you're going to take what you learned in class about structuring and organizing a speech, and you'll utilize that to prepare and then present your presentation or your speech. So what I want to see in that farewell speech, even though there's no set outline format, there's no assigned structural format that you have to follow for the speech, the biggest thing I'm looking for in that last speech is that there is a clear sense of structure and organization. So that means what I'm looking for in the farewell speeches, there should be a clear structure to the unfolding of your information as you deliver the particular speech. And so you want to make sure that you have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Probably a good idea to begin the speech with some kind of attention getter that then leads us into your topic. If you're going to cover a couple main ideas or main points in the body of the speech, you want to preview those main ideas at the end of your introduction. And then in the body of the speech, let's say that you have 2 main points that you want to focus on. There should be a transition that takes us from one main point to the next. And you should have a conclusion where you summarize your main points, tie it back into your thesis statement, and it'll really be impressive if you end your speech by referring back to your opening attention getter. So even though there's no set structural format, I'm looking at the farewell speech as more of a real world speaking opportunity where you have a chance to speak. Now, based on what you've learned in the class, you have to be able to organize and structure that speech. And again, it's a short speech, 1 to 2 minutes in length, and very similar to your introductory videos that you did at the beginning of the semester. And really the big difference I should see there is in this last speech, there should be a clear sense of structure in the presentation, and probably the delivery style in the presentation hopefully is better than when you began with that introductory video. But so for the farewell speech, you can take a lot of different ways to focus on the content that you want to present, but I'm looking for structure and organization in that final presentation. demonstrate you know how to structure a speech in that farewell speech. All right? Okay. Last thing that I want to talk about today is the final assessment. That will be the last assignment that you do for the semester. And that's where you get to have a say in here's what I think my letter grade should be for the semester. In fact, let's go ahead and get back on the Canvas shell. And I'm just going to walk you through the questions that you will be asked to answer on that final assessment. Let's go to the modules now. Okay, so now we're on the module page on Canvas, and here you see right here, week 8. Here's your farewell speech that you'll turn in, and then your final assessment. Let's go ahead and click on that. All right, and this takes us to the actual assignment and submission page. So basically, this is a written assignment, and you have 6 questions that you're going to answer in the final assessment. And even though I originally intended for this to be a written assignment, I also don't mind if you want to submit this as a video where you're actually answering the question. So you can do it as a written assignment, or you can post a video for the assignment. But basically, you're answering 6 questions. And so first, tell me what you liked about the class. In fact, really 2 things I'm after in the final assessment. I want your feedback as far as what you liked and didn't like about the class, and I want to give you an opportunity to be able to negotiate for what you think your final grade in the class should be. So the first 2 questions, tell me things that you liked about the class, and tell me things that you didn't like about the class. And here, make sure you're really specific. And 2, let's just not worry about I didn't like the class being online, because we had no choice in that. I didn't like the class being online. I can't wait to get back into the classroom and face-to-face communication. But were there things that you didn't like about the class, didn't work, maybe some exercises, some of the content? So any feedback you can give me to help make the class even better, I welcome those suggestions, right? We're all learning. Then number 3, now here you want to reflect back on your goals for the class. Those were the 3 goals that you presented in your introductory video. And so here, basically, I want you to tell me how well you felt you met your goals for the class. Did you meet them? And when you're telling me you met your goals, try to use specific examples from the class to support that. And also, if you're applying those goals now and they're working for you, I'd love to hear about it. So in the 3rd question, talk about how well you were able to meet your goals that you established for yourself. That's going to have a big impact on your final grade. And then question 4. This is a little confusing maybe to some, and so this isn't, I'm not asking you for what you think your grade is. I'm asking you to give a grade on the overall content of the class. Like, what kind of value do you place on what you learned in this particular course? And I think, at least from my perspective, I like teaching this class because you can take a lot of the stuff that you're learning and apply it immediately. So how valuable is that information? And really what I'm after here, I don't like the grading system, the letter grading system. I think it's a terrible way to evaluate students, because what happens, and a lot of you'll find this like in the class, you're taking a class online. It's not so much, okay, I want to learn everything I can about this subject. It's rather, okay, what do I need to do to be able to pass the class and get the highest possible grade, right? But later on, when you have a public speaking opportunity, you don't go up and wave your little A around, right? Oh, I got an A in public speaking. No, what matters is what did you learn, and are you able to use that information? So that's what I'm after when you're talking about what grade value would you place on what you have learned. Then number 5, that's where you tell me, look, here's what I think my letter grade should be and why. And there's specific criteria to follow. So first, we already know that you determining your grade is really going to be based somewhat on your self-evaluation, right? How well do you think you met your goals that you established for the course? But second, there are also student learning objectives for the class, things that I want you to learn. In fact, last week I mentioned this. If you wanted to get an A in the class, you want to make sure in that final persuasive speech that your outline was done correctly. That's why with the few of you, Like, even though there were maybe just some little things to fix, like getting dates in your source citations or making sure that your transitions were clear, I wouldn't give you a complete until all that stuff was done, because I want to make sure that your outline is perfect, because I'm looking at that to determine your overall grade for the semester. You have to be able to know how to put an academic outline together, and that also includes knowing how to insert your source citations into the text of the outline and into the delivery of the speech. So from my standpoint, I'm looking at the quality of your outline based on that last persuasive speech outline. I'm also looking at how well you incorporated your source citations into the outline, both in the written aspect, in the outline, and in the actual presentation. And then remember too, for the persuasive speech, if you want to get an A in the class, you need to maintain eye contact with the audience at least 50% of the time. And what I'm really after here is I want you to demonstrate that you practice your speech. Also, using your voice, vocal variety. And by the way, some of you are doing a pretty good job with vocal variety in terms of vocal variety within each of your sentences. I'll get some shifts in the rate and the volume in each of your sentences. But what some of you have done is then you kind of say each sentence the same way, so that takes away from the vocal variety. Rather, you want to make sure that each sentence, each line sounds a little bit different from the previous line. You're putting pauses in different places as well. So what I'm after in that persuasive speech, I want you to make sure that you're looking and speaking into the camera at least 50% of the time. What I'm really after is demonstrate that you have your speech down well enough that you're not completely dependent on reading your outline for the overall delivery. So to really get an A in this class, you need to show me you know how to practice a speech well enough so that you understand and are comfortable enough with the content so that you can look at your audience. In this class, you're looking into the camera, so it looks like you're looking at your viewers at least 50% of the time. So when it comes to your final grade, we're looking at how well you met your goals, as well as how well you met the student learning objectives. And also, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but here, if you look at the links on the left-hand side, see this right here, people, I can click on that. That tells me how many hours you've spent on Canvas. And I can even look at that. It'll tell me how many hours you've spent on each of the modules. So when you're answering question number 5 and you're telling me I did as well as I could in the class, then I look at your hours, and let's say you've only put 10 hours into the class for the semester, and I notice that you have no time watching any of the Zoom recordings. Well, does that tell me that you really tried your best to develop your skills in public speaking? Probably not. So realize too, you want to make sure that you're using integrity, that you're being honest when you're answering these questions, because I have a pretty good idea of how much you've spent working on your assignments. And I would much rather have you tell me that, okay, here's the grade that I deserve, and I got, no, I think your grade should be up here, then you try to blow smoke up my ass and tell me, look, I just deserve to get an A, and then I see that you've only spent 5 hours in the class. So make sure integrity, honesty when you're answering the question. That goes a long way, not only in this class, but also in life. And last question, what can I do as an instructor to improve this course? So specifically this course online, obviously. Any feedback you can give me, I appreciate that. And nothing you say here will affect your overall grade. You could tell me, Pop, you suck as an instructor. I can't understand half the things that you're trying to tell me. Cool, put that in there. That tells me I need to work harder. I need to continue to improve and get better. So anything that you can tell me that helps me improve as an instructor, I welcome that information. It has no impact on your final grade. In fact, you tell me something that I can do, and oh wow, I like that. Cool. subjectively, who knows? That bumps the grade up a little bit. We don't know. All right. So, final assessment, last assignment, answer the 6 questions, turn those in. And remember, what I'm really after in this class is not your letter grade, but what did you learn? And more importantly, how can you use that information to not only be successful in the rest of your academic career, but how can you take what you've learned in public speaking and make a difference in the world?